everyone, Karen the Warp Spinster here. Welcome to my channel and a Happy New Year to everyone. I wish you a prosperous, healthy, safe, and Happy New Year. I also want to take some time to sincerely thank all of you for your kind comments about my break and my decision about what to do next. It's warms my heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate them. While I was on a break, I thought about what I might want to do. The reason I needed a break is because I was feeling dried up with regard to ideas for doing these videos. And while you all would probably be kind and say everything was great, bless your hearts, it was feeling pretty stagnant to me. So I've come up with a couple of other ideas for inspiration, and so I will start with that today and we'll see where it goes. If you have some ideas or some challenges for me, let me know in the comments. So I've decided that I want to use some of my favorite artwork. One of my favorite pieces of art is this piece by Georges Seurat, which is Sunday on La Grande Jatte. And pardon my French, one semester of college French a long time ago. I was never good at it anyway, so I apologize for that. I always think of it somehow as Sunday afternoon in the park with George from the Stephen Sondheim musical. But I love this. I was familiar with it, but I was in Chicago for a conference and took some time to go to the Art Institute. This was many years ago. And just seeing it in person in its full, large glory just knocked me for a loop. So gobsmacked standing there in the Art Institute. This is going to be my inspiration piece for what I want to try out today. And there's lots going on here, and what I want to do is just focus on to pull out just some details that strike me, probably completely different from what you would pull out. That's one of the beauties of art, is we all see different things and interpret it differently. When I think about this, if I'm not actually looking at it, but I'm just remembering it, what I remember are these dots of people in the park and this one foreground couple. Mostly I think of the woman because the man is sort of hidden behind. And when I think about it, they tend to be larger, more in the foreground, and a little more centered than they are. Now, compositionally, this is better than having them centered, but I think of this larger foreground subject and then these spots of colors in different shapes in the background. I don't really think about this diagonal between the green and the lake, pond, whatever that is. And the other thing that I don't even think about the trees, even just looking at it, it's like, oh, wow, there are trees in it. The other thing that I recognize, because I am so fond of linear things, as you may recall, are the lines of the umbrellas and the stems of the umbrellas and the handles, and kind of the umbrella shape as well, almost a curved triangular shape. So those are the things that I'm going to be thinking about as I do an improv piece based on this. It's going to look nothing like this. You will have no idea unless you're told what the inspiration piece was. So it's a way of, I guess it causes me to look more deeply into it, but also to stand back from it and think about, what am I really seeing here? And once I've done that, once I think of this is what I remember from seeing it before, what else is there that I haven't noticed as much, like the trees and I can't believe, I haven't remembered the dog, because I love dogs. And of course, some people are reclining, and there are a couple others standing. So it causes me to, I don't want to say think about it superficially, but think about what strikes me, and then to dive a little deeper and see what else there is. And in my brain, I'm still thinking these sort of random dots of color. I'm sure it wasn't random to the artist. And the contrast between the size of the background figures and the foreground figures, some of the colors in there, and then the lines of the umbrella stems. So maybe, I'm sure you'll see something completely different. There are really interesting shapes and sections here. I mean, the line between the lake and the grass would be great. The lines of the tree here is kind of interesting. And the colors are interesting. These are not my usual colors, and in fact, I'm not going to even think about using the same colors in mine. But maybe these are really your colors, and it would stand as an inspiration for, just the colors might inspire something for you. So that's what I'm going to be thinking about, the sort of random spots in the background, large foreground figure, and the lines of the umbrellas. As long as I have my iPad out and handy, I thought I would do just a quick sketch for you of how this currently looks in my brain. This is going to be improv, probably won't turn out like this. It should resemble it, I hope, but this is not a pattern for it. It's just a sketch so you can see where I'm going with this. So if you remember, I was thinking about these sort of random pieces in the background, and they don't need to be squares. They could be circles, they could be odd shapes, but I'm going to go with squares. I hadn't originally necessarily thought of them as different sizes, but that makes some sense. And in fact, for the foreground area here, more toward the front, just for perspective's sake, I might make them larger, or I might not care. I don't know. There was that diagonal line for the shoreline, and I may mimic that a bit, or I may not. And in fact, I don't want this to cover the entire canvas. I want it to be sort of a strip across the middle. And there will probably be more squares spaced differently. I don't know why I'm doing that extra uptick at the end. That's weird. Okay, and then I've got that larger shape in the foreground. Now, you know I love circles, so certainly an option would be to do a large circle, probably larger than that one. And that would be perfectly okay, but it isn't really, amazingly enough, isn't really what I'm thinking about. So instead, I am going to do an angular piece. And it could be just a rectangle. And I could true that up, but this is just a sketch, so never mind. It could be overlapping. If I've got two shapes there, I probably want to do a third. So I could do something like that. Or I could do something more angular along those lines, which I think I like more. And then I'm going to want a strip of black in here. Let me just make that a little better here. Just a narrow strip of black here. I don't want it to divide the space entirely. And maybe another piece next to it. So these are the umbrellas. And maybe, and I'll want a third line then, because I want 3 lines. Although the lines of this line here on the side could count, or this one could count as one. Now, I do have the umbrella thing, and this sort of mimics it, but in the opposite direction. So, well, this is the left side of the umbrella as you're looking at it. And I want this to, the reason that I did this going up is that I want it to lift the eye up. And actually this one stripe, I think I want to go off the bottom edge because it will help to anchor everything. And then I'm wondering, sort of in my head, I'm seeing other shapes here too. And I'm not sure exactly how that's going to look. But this again sort of mimics the umbrella concept, that rounded triangular, but I'm not doing rounds on this. Can you believe it? So that's kind of where I'm heading. Now these pieces in relation to this are likely to be smaller. And I don't know what I am doing there. And I think more heavy on this side, and perhaps it's because in the actual painting, this large figure is over here, so I'm mostly remembering and thinking of these pieces to the left of them, well, in front of them, but to our left. And I'm generally a solids kind of person, but I think these I might do in prints, just to help with that sort of random spots of color. These will probably be solids. In fact, I'm sure they'll be solids. It's going to be a white background because that's just what I like to do. And these strips will be in black. So then I have to think about colors, and I don't really know. I've been working, you know, they were calm kind of colors. There's the blue and the green. And I wasn't going to mimic the colors, but maybe I will. I might still do the blues and greens, not necessarily the shades and tints that Seurat used, but I will ponder that for a little while and go down to my stash, see what I've got, pull out some of the prints maybe, and then see what this shape should be based on that. Anyway, that's just a quick sketch of what's going on in my brain, and it, you know, it really doesn't look like Sunday in the Park with George. So let me go down to my stash, see what I come up with. I raided my stash and I found a bag. Every once in a while I'm reminded of this bag, but one day it just sort of appeared out of nowhere, and it's in a bag from my former local quilt shop, which closed a few years ago, and it had my name on it. These are not things that I would have purchased at the time. These are, I think, well, there's a tulip pink for sure, but I think they're largely tulip pinks, except for these two. Anyway, I wasn't into tulip pink at the time. They didn't do tulip pink in their shop, so somebody brought them in apparently, and they set them aside for me. I don't know, longer story than you want to know. Anyway, so these have various blues and greens, which I like. I guess I'm doing blues and greens. And they are varied enough in the prints. They're large and varied prints that I can get, even out of just a few prints, I can get a lot of variety for the background dots or people or whatever. And then I found some blues. These, I would not use all of these, not together for sure in this piece, but I wanted to bring a variety. And then I also have some greens. Oh, here are some more. I thought I had more. Here are some more of these pieces, of the tulip pieces. And then I also have some greens. Now, I'm not, oh, that one is, I want a solid, so that one's out. But I think I probably will wait until I have a goodly portion of this bit done before I decide on that large foreground piece, or those pieces. And then, of course, white for the background and black for the umbrella handles. I can approach this a number of different ways, and I like both ways, so I may have to try both of them at some point anyway. I could do these just as pieces within strips and kind of vary the width of the strips as it goes along, and then alternate it with another strip that maybe gets wider at a different section, and just do it as strip piecing. And there's a certain, I don't know, certain appeal to that, and I might do it. But I think for this one, I want to just do cut sizes, surround it with white, and then start piecing them together, which is more piecing than I would need to do for sure. And I may abandon it, but I think I'm going to start out giving that a try. A third option is to just do straight strip piecing, not necessarily evenly spaced bits of color. But I think that sort of linear, angular look could also be quite interesting. But we're going to go with a random kind of thing and see how it goes. Maybe we'll change our minds. Certainly not going to finish up with this week. I've yammered on so much already. You're hoping that this is not the demonstration of how it's going to be for the rest of the year. I also, I'm noticing, added a little purple in here, purple and pinky kind of thing, just for a little contrast. Well, we'll see. So I want to sit down, cut some pieces of these, some squares or rectangles, don't have to be squares, of different sizes, and start piecing some white around them, and we'll see where it goes. This is something like the arrangement that I'm thinking about. These pieces will all be smaller, obviously, because of seams, and it will look brighter because it's a white background. But this is kind of not quite a puzzle, but sort of fitting different sized pieces in, and I have a boatload of pieces here. I don't want it to be a straight strip across, and I have different sizes so that I can plug things in. Maybe it's my jigsaw puzzle loving brain. All right, so I am going to start doing a bit of the white background to surround these and then put them together, just to give you an idea of where I hope I'm going with this. And then probably call it a day for today, since I've been yammering so much. So I'll make a little start of this so you can see how it's going to look as I move along. All right, this is why this isn't going to be finished today, because there's a lot of puzzling through the order in which I want to do this. So I started out with these two pieces, and then I added these two strips here. And so that could be a piece, but I want this to sort of settle in here. So what I will do is add probably a long piece on here. We'll see what happens with that. And then a piece here that is going to, this is challenging. So this is actually going to get cut here. And I will have a strip that goes all the way across here, plus a strip here that's going to match up with that piece. So it's a puzzlement, and I may get so tired of doing this piecing together that I decide to do something different. But I'm going to continue with this and call it a day for this video at the moment, and settle in with my machine. Good movie, I guess. Let's see what happens. Next week, maybe we'll do some more on this. Hopefully I will have some more things for you to show you, and then maybe start talking about the large foreground pieces. This may not end up looking like this arrangement at all, but the foreground piece would be here, and then I would have another shorter strip of this, narrower strip of this, I guess, on the other side of that foreground piece. So I'm going to try to make this follow roughly the rule of thirds. So I will have 2/3 on this side of the figure, the foreground figure. The foreground figure will be roughly 1/3 of the way from the right-hand edge, and then there will be another strip there. So if you divide the canvas or the quilt into a grid of like a 9-patch, then the foreground figure is going to be on the rightmost vertical seam. So that's my plan. Stay tuned. We'll see what happens. I hope to see you next week, but in the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Happy New Year. Peace out. I'm back. I have decided that the most efficient way to do this without me losing my mind is to make it sort of block style. So I will put things together semi-randomly into blocks, and then I'll start putting the blocks together, and there will be fillers so it doesn't look like a grid system of blocks, but it will be much easier for me if I can think in smaller sections. So that's my plan. Ultimately, I don't want edges to line up. This one does, which I just noticed, or I wouldn't have had that happen. But these edges, for example, aren't lining up. This doesn't line up with these. So that is my goal for each block. And then I will take the blocks and arrange them again so that the edges don't line up. And I'll use some filler white for that. So now, peace out.